Hey, welcome back, friends. So, Western road trip for our family. We took a cool road trip just a few weeks ago out to Arizona, northern Arizona, southern Utah. We did Page, Arizona. We did Zion National Park, Bryce Canyon National Park, Grand Canyon. A lot of cool stuff in between, Sedona. And this is a two-part series, so we've already covered a little bit of that in the first video. You can check that out on the channel. I'll even maybe put a card right here if you want to check that one out first. That will explain a lot. So maybe watch that video and then come back and watch this one. This video, we're going to talk about the Grand Canyon. We're going to talk about Sedona, some of the tours we did. This will be a little bit shorter video.
Yeah, I think it will be.
I think than the first one. The first one was almost 40 minutes. But the whole point of these videos is to just give you ideas of what you may want to do if you take this trip. I know a lot of you have mentioned that you would love to do something like this. We did not take the RV. So, big caveat there. I know a lot of this channel is mostly RV stuff, but even if you're in the RV, a lot of what we did is very relevant.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So we stayed in Airbnbs and national park lodges, but either way, we're just weekenders. We don't have time to tow all the way out there. And but this is video 2. You ready to go?
Let's do it.
All right, here we go. All right, guys, so we're going to pick back up. We've got a list down here, so we had a big, long list of things to share with you guys. So you'll see us looking down from time to time, cheating.
Well, we don't want to leave anything out.
You're right, we don't want to leave anything out. And there's some details to go through that I don't know if they're important, but they're fun. I mean, a good example is when we left back from Kanab. So we left Bryce. We have a 5.5-hour trip from Bryce Canyon down to the Grand Canyon, the south rim, of course. The north rim is still closed. We'll talk about that in just a few seconds. But so we had a good long trip. It gave us an option to go back to Page, Arizona, and then south back to the south rim that way.
89.
That's 89, but we chose not to do that, and just for a different scene. And we ended up coming down. What was that road?
It's 89A.
89A, right?
Yes.
And we have a little thunderstorm here. Yep, so heads up. So this is battery powered, so we should be good. But it came down 89A towards the north rim of the Grand Canyon. It was still closed. I think as of June 1st it was opening.
It was opening like a week after we were there.
Right,
I think,
it was about to reopen. And so you get a lot of elevation change there. And so 89 from Kanab, went through Fredonia, Jacob Lake, and Marble Canyon, and then we got to see the very beginning, what they consider the beginning of the Grand Canyon at the Navajo Bridge and Lee's Ferry.
Yeah, and that's a great place to stop.
Yeah.
And I will mention, check your app when you're traveling. There were great little stops along the way. We found a great scenic outlook.
Yes.
There was this balanced rock. We didn't go see it, but we drove by some. So
several.
It was really cool. So, kind of check it out and be prepared if you need to pull off and stretch your legs. There's some great scenic places to stop. So.
Yeah, it was really cool because you go from, over 8,000 feet up there at the north rim of the Grand Canyon, and then you head down into Marble Canyon, and it went from like 70 to 90, which is the typical, out west into the canyon, bottom of the canyon type thing. But it was interesting to see how small the Grand Canyon, even though it's still called the Grand Canyon there, I mean, that Navajo Bridge was only maybe a quarter mile long.
Yeah, it wasn't long at all.
Yeah, so it was rather small there at the, quote, beginning of the Grand Canyon. So it's cool to see that, and then we took it on down. And then we actually scored, we wanted to stay at some national park lodges. And we've talked about that in the prior video. We got to stay at Zion Lodge via a last-minute cancellation. We were able to find a room at Bryce Lodge, which was really cool. Just cool to wake up inside of these parks. And then, of course, Grand Canyon, we scored a room at Kachina Lodge.
Yes,
yeah.
And part of this was reverse engineering our trip. I think we first envisioned we would go to Sedona and make our way to Grand Canyon and kind of do that. And it just so happened we did get some dates like at Kachina Lodge and Bryce Canyon. So we built our trip around staying at those lodges.
Yes, we did.
So Kachina Lodge was one of those places. We booked it as soon as we saw that we could get in, and it worked for our trip. And it was great.
It was cool.
So
you're seeing some video now. I mean, we woke up on the rim of the Grand Canyon. And sunrise was super easy because we're still on East Coast time. So even though the sunrise was like 5:15, for us it's 8:15. So we're up and at 'em watching the sunrise, and it was just, it was really, really cool to wake up on the rim of the Grand Canyon.
It was great. Yeah, I mean, we had a nice view out the window, and we were just a few steps away. So
Right.
you can't beat that.
And thank you again. We mentioned the first video. You'll obviously hear us mention the first video several times because this is the same trip. But Corey and Jesse from Finding Our Someday, they are the ones that said, hey, if you're not going to RV out here, try to get some national park lodges in because they're really cool, and they are. So if you are like us, you're weekenders, you just don't have 3-4 days one way and then 3-4 days the next coming back to spend pulling an RV, you got to fly. Yeah, these national park lodges are really cool. They're not fancy.
No, they're not fancy. I will say I felt
location.
Yeah, but I feel like Kachina Lodge was a little more updated. Now, granted, it wasn't like, lodgy lodge, but it was a great hotel.
Right. Well, just to compare them, making reference back to the first video, Zion was, it had TV. Bryce didn't even have TV. Bryce didn't even have a TV.
And Zion had an amazing view out our balcony.
Yes, Zion has a crazy view.
Because we're looking straight out. And then Bryce
didn't have any view.
It was toward the Bryce Canyon, but you can't see anything. It's like a couple minute walk.
It was a football field to the canyon.
Yeah. And then Kachina Lodge.
Crazy view.
There's no balcony, but out the window.
Right.
There.
Right. I mean, the rim of the canyon is 30 feet away. Maybe
I'm not
something
good
like that.
with feet.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
So anyway, at the Grand Canyon, right there at Kachina Lodge, there's also the El Tovar, which is the oldest hotel there.
Yes.
And we had dinner there. You want to talk about that?
We did, sure. So we headed over to dinner. I guess we would consider that a little early. We got our name on the list at 5, and they told us an hour and a half wait. We're like, sure, no problem. We'll go to some gift shops and walk around. I mean, why not walk around and stare at the Grand Canyon for an hour?
Right.
No problem. And I don't think we waited the full hour and a half.
No, we didn't.
But by 5:45, they weren't taking reservations anymore.
Right.
Now, you can make reservations online. We waited too late. I looked a few weeks ahead of time, and it was too late. So if you want to eat there 3 weeks, 4 weeks, I don't know, but I would start checking to get reservations or go really early and get your name on the list.
Yes. Yeah, so we did not have reservations. We looked out.
And it was good. I mean,
it was good. Yeah. It's expensive.
Really neat. Yeah.
I mean, I think that was our splurge meal of the whole trip, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we had 1 or 2 splurge meals, and that was definitely one of them. So, yeah, bring your pocketbook on that one because it's not cheap.
Yeah,
but it was good. It was really, really good. So, what's after that? And then, so we spend the night there, of course. We wake up the next day.
Sunrise.
Right. Watch the sunrise. It just looks fake. I would say.
Yeah. It's surreal. You're like, oh my gosh, it's majestic.
I will say, I think that as far as scenery is concerned, the Grand Canyon seems like kind of cliche because everyone goes, but there's a reason everyone goes. It's
breathtaking.
It's just crazy.
I think, I mean, we still remember the first time we saw it, and it still was no less amazing the second time.
Yep, 100%. So we have breakfast the next morning. We did not go back to the El Tovar Hotel. We just didn't want to spend that much money again, and it was busy. But there's a little snack bar right down from Kachina Lodge on the Bright. So the Bright Angel Lodge is just a couple of doors down for the Kachina Lodge. They're kind of stacked down there in the Grand Canyon Village. And there's a little snack bar there. They had really good breakfast burritos.
Oh my gosh, y'all. They weren't huge.
Expensive.
Tally and I shared. I think, did Tally and I share? Becky and I. Anyway, it's very shareable.
Yeah.
Huge, delicious. So head west. If you're at Kachina, you would head west. And it was just down there. And I looked online and it almost looked like it had closed, but it hasn't.
No,
so
they were open.
And it was good. Drip coffee. I mean, nothing fancy, but
it was inexpensive too. The burrito was huge. It's $5.
Yeah.
So I was surprised.
Check it out.
Yeah.
And there's also like a cafe, I think, over kind of by Mathers Point, that visitor center area.
Yes.
We didn't go in there and get food, but I do know that they have food there.
Right. So. They do. There's several places. I mean, food's not a problem out there for sure.
Okay. So we spent some time. Now, we didn't hop on the shuttle. We drove from point to point to point. We didn't have any trouble finding parking that day at the points that we visited. We started heading out east, actually, back toward the tower, which is the far eastern side of the South
where
Rim.
we came in.
So we just started making our way out that way. But we had decided earlier that we wanted to go to Route 66. So after we'd gone to all the points to the east, we drove back and headed to Williams. Yeah,
I would say I don't think it would be worth it to pay somebody to take you on a tour. I think if you're already in your own car, even if you're on your RV even, I mean, there's almost, all those spots have almost enough room for
I did see some RVs parked.
Right. I don't know if I saw any big fifth wheels, but there's definitely Class A's and all that kind of stuff out there. So, yeah, I don't think I would pay anyone to take me on a tour.
No, and
you just hit the spots. They're very obvious where they are, and unless you're going to hike down to the bottom, now that's a whole different story. But
we didn't do that.
I think just doing point to point to point.
Yeah, that was easy. But
cool.
if you didn't feel like worrying about your card, they do have shuttles to take you to the points.
Right. Right.
And there's one that has a museum. I can't remember the name of that one.
It's like an art museum.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't art.
Oh, geology museum.
The geology museum.
Geology museum.
Kids
yeah.
like that. So
that was cool.
And it's a great overlook.
So at the geology museum, the group of scientists back in the 20s determined that was the best place to show the geology and age of the different layers of the Grand Canyon. That was the best view for it. So I think I've got a couple of pictures up there. If I do, I'll put them up on the screen
but if you have
right
kids,
now.
pop by there.
Yeah, pop out there. It's really cool for them to see all the different layers. This is a great learning experience, and there's a couple of interactive little exhibits in there. But yeah, the Grand Canyon you can definitely do. If you're not hiking it, obviously, you can definitely do the Grand Canyon in a day.
Yes, we've done that twice.
Yes, we have. And it was, I mean, it's just so big. After a while, the points start kind of blending in, I think.
Yeah. You're like, oh, I remember
Yeah.
exactly that. But there are different rocks you can remember, like
Yes.
the sinking ship Beckett
The duck.
loved because he thought it looked like the Titanic. And then
Right.
there's the duck. And anyway, so just do a little homework and you'll be excited to see the different points.
Yeah, that was, I think the Grand Canyon's incredible. And then I've got a special story. My mom always wanted to go to the Grand Canyon. She never got a chance to, so it was extra special for me to take her grandbabies to see the Grand Canyon. That was kind of cool. Lost
Yeah.
my mom early. So, all right, what's up next, Mom?
Okay, so we headed to Williams, Arizona.
Well, I
which-
think
right?
we're skipping this, so I think it's important
Oh,
that
okay. Yep. Sorry.
try to go to the parks on a weekday if you can. And I think that we were there right before Memorial Day weekend, and I would bet that Memorial Day weekend was crazy.
It was. I think we beat the crowds. There wasn't a lot of kids we saw.
I think it's common sense,
when we
of
were
course.
in
but-
the parks, but I think also it's because we got out of school at a great time. We went straight on our trip, so we avoided a lot of summer vacations. If you
Yes.
can't do that, at least try to hit some of the parks during the week because
Right. Yeah, hit the parks during the week, and if you're going on a holiday weekend, maybe hit Sedona or something like that during holiday and take your chances there. But for the parks, I would try to hit them during the week. We wrote that down for a reason. We feel strongly about that. So,
okay.
all right, what's up?
Sorry, I jumped ahead. All
No,
right,
you're good.
so
So we leave the Grand Canyon.
and head south
Yes.
to Williams. So there's Route 66. They have fun Route 66 signs. We took
Right.
some photos with those. So we ate it's called Anna's Place. I think it's like Grand Canyon Cafe. Great reviews, but the reason we went there is because we had breakfast there the first time we went as a couple to the Grand Canyon, and it was delicious. So
Yes.
we're like, okay, we'll give it a shot for, what was it? I guess a late lunch? Yeah, it was
Yeah,
late lunch.
it was late lunch. Yeah.
And it was really good.
And then we
it was
piddled
great.
around. There's a couple of cool diners out there too.
There's some great,
So,
there's some neat spots.
I think if we
so.
went again, I would want to go to one of those diners.
Yeah.
Yeah, just because it's Route 66. I don't know.
Yeah.
It seems cheesy, but
they look kind of cool though.
yeah, they look cool. I mean, it is what it is. And supposedly Williams is like the last great town that I-40 didn't pass. So that was finally it did. But yeah, Williams is kind of hung in there as long as it could. And there's Route 66 stuff all over the place, and it's just a little bit touristy. But I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah, and we popped in some shops and had
Yeah.
some time to walk around before we headed to Sedona. We were in no rush to get to Sedona. We couldn't check in until our VRBO till
Right.
later, so
Right.
we had some time for that.
Which brings us to Sedona, and I'm going to pause this because my son is making too much noise. Okay, so Beckett is a complete motorhead, and he can't play cars without making the motor sound,
He claimed you
which
didn't make-
I love, but it doesn't work
he
out
claimed
well when
he's
you're
like,
trying
I
to.
didn't make the noise. We're like, you did.
Yeah, we're trying to make a video. It's like, hey, dude, go upstairs. You're good. You got a whole racetrack up there and everything. All right, let's go. So we've left Williams and we're now on our way to Sedona, and this is kind of where we slow down a little bit.
Yes.
So at this point, we've been 2 nights in Page, 1 night in Zion, 1 night in Bryce, 1 night in Grand Canyon, and so now we go to Sedona for 3 nights, and we kind of get to slow down a little bit.
I was looking forward to that.
And I would-
just to sleep in, to chill.
Right. I would highly suggest it. It wasn't a ton of driving. We had a 5.5-hour trip from Bryce to Grand Canyon, and then only like 2 hours to Sedona. So it wasn't like crazy amount of driving, but just every single day, and it was just nice. It's still vacation, and so we decided we would purposefully take a little bit more time in Sedona, slow down, and like you said, sleep late. And that was a great idea. I mean, I know there's other things we could have seen, but slowing down after 4 or 5 nights was...
We needed it.
I think would definitely be suggested. You're seeing some pictures of the VRBO that we picked up in Sedona. I would highly suggest it. We splurged here. Again, this is a bucket list trip for us, so we splurged a little bit here, but I think it was worth it.
And we
but that's so
just
subjective.
loved
Yeah.
that VRBO.
That VRBO
it's
was
one
cool.
of our favorites ever.
It was great.
It was really great.
It was very clean. It was in a great part of town.
Yeah, it was close to town. Great views. We had dinner
Right.
on the back porch back deck one night. And
Yeah.
it was a dream.
So we'll put that link in the description box below. We have nothing to do with them. They were great hosts, but yeah, that was really good. And you'll talk here. I'll let you talk about the scenic trail because that's what that's what you wanted
That's
to
what
hike.
I made you hike.
Surprised us. It was like, whoa, okay, it's all good.
Okay, so some people think of Sedona, they hear of these vortexes. Now, I'm not saying I believe that vortexes do what they claim or whatever. So we won't get into that. But I'd heard of the airport Mesa and there being a vortex out there, and
Or just the view.
And I wasn't interested in that part,
Yeah.
but I was interested in the view.
Yes.
So I knew we could go and have a great view. Now, so we drove up the airport, the road where the airport is. It's not hard to find. You could Google that.
Yes.
And there was a little pull off to the left, and it would have been a very short hike up to this view, but on the left side of the road. But there was no parking, and there's a sign, go ahead. There's parking. So we followed, I don't know, half mile up the road, and there was another beautiful scenic outlook over on the right.
Right.
But you can't park there, so you had to go into the airport parking area. It was what, $3?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay, so $3. So no problem. We parked there and we walked across and saw the overlook that we didn't know existed, and it was beautiful. Took some photos there, and
Right.
then we saw there was a trail you could hike down to the rock. And I'm like, let's do it. Can't be that long, and it wasn't. Corey was betting me it was a lot longer than it was, but I came back and looked it up,
It was
and
longer.
it was round trip 1.2 miles.
She
But you
she
can
said 1.
Hike down. Okay, I was off 0.2.
Sprint for 0.2 miles. Sprint for 0.2 miles and tell me it's not a lot. Well, it was a surprise hike. So
It was
I was
yeah.
like, oh, we're going up, we're going down. Because I had a hard time following you there. I'm sorry. But so we go halfway up the mesa, and there's a spot, and then we have to drive the rest of the way up the mesa, where we're hiking halfway back down the mesa, basically.
And it was worth it.
Yeah, no, it was worth it, 100%. But it was a surprise. So it's like,
Yes, so we hiked back down to where we couldn't park and then turned around and came back.
Yes.
And then the airport has an amazing restaurant.
Yes, they
so
do.
we had lunch there, and it's right on the runway, and you can watch planes land, take off. It was great.
What did I get there? I can't remember. I got the
burger?
I got the smash burger.
Yeah.
It was really, really good. I'm a burger nut, and that was probably top 5 all time.
Yeah, and I had fish and chips.
Fish and chips,
And they
yep.
were delicious. I would get those again.
What town they have? A salad? It was all good.
No.
I think you're
but-
gonna win.
Yeah. So anyway, if
Right.
you do that and you happen to go up there, you can leave your car in the little $3 parking lot and walk to the restaurant and come back.
Right.
It was really short. Anyway, it was an unexpected adventure, but it was fun.
Well, it's funny because the airport at Sedona is a huge mesa. It sits above the entire town, way above this big flat mesa. And back in the day when these vortexes, the lady that started the whole vortex thing up there, she declared the entire airport a vortex. So what they had to do for convenience and safety, really, people were starting to walk out onto the runways, apparently.
Per one of our tour guides.
Yeah, and so they were starting to walk out onto the runways and cause a problem with planes landing and taking off. And so they had to say, okay, the airport itself is not a vortex. It's that little bitty rock halfway down the mesa. That's the vortex. And so yeah, technically, I guess that lady says the whole airport's a vortex, but for convenience, just that little rock. But it's beautiful out there. I mean, yeah, it's
The
stunning.
rock was conveniently beautiful.
Yes,
So.
it was very pretty.
So that was our little, unexpected adventure. But we knew that afternoon we had the Pink Jeep tour.
Yes.
So we were kind of just filling some time, not doing anything too crazy that morning.
Right.
When we went before, we hiked Devil's Bridge.
Mm-hmm.
I could not bring my mom heart to let the kids do that because I barely made it out on Devil's Bridge the first time we went. So
Right.
If you don't go with kids, check out Devil's Bridge. But if you go with kids, it's a little scary.
Well, I was
So-
literally thinking about buying like these little harnesses for the kids for Devil's Bridge because I still wanted to go, but I'm I'm kind of like her. I mean, you know, it's all good till it's not at Devil's Bridge. And so, and our kids can be a little rambunctious at times and a little fraidy cat at times.
Yeah.
I'm not sure we wouldn't have got there and they wouldn't have done it.
I wondered that too.
So,
I'm like, they may chicken out. So anyway,
Yeah.
But I just wanted to mention that because
Yes.
that morning I had thought back when we were beginning to plan the trip, like I had heartburn thinking about, well, I guess that morning maybe we'll go check out Devil's Bridge. And then
Yeah.
I was glad that you were like, no,
Nah,
we're
probably
okay not doing it.
We're
So
good.
Pink Jeep was that afternoon,
Yes.
evening? What time did we go?
And so if you don't know, we went at 3,
Okay.
I think. If you don't know what Pink Jeep is, so Pink Jeep, they've been doing these tours in pink Jeeps and since the 60s. And I think they actually started in Sedona. And the guy that founded Pink Jeep, he was actually in real estate in Sedona. And he was making these appointments, and he was finding out that people really weren't interested in the real estate. They just wanted to ride around and see the scenery. So he had bought a Jeep, and so anyway, that's how it all started. And now I think they have 75 Jeeps in Sedona. And they do some tours in Las Vegas and Great Smoky Mountains and a couple other spots. But they're big businesses in Sedona. And it's not a tourist trap. I mean, it's the real deal. And we were kind of worried about that the first time we ever did a Pink Jeep because it's plastered all over the place, Pink Jeep Tours. And it's okay, well, I mean, this is probably kind of touristy. But no, I mean, you're seeing some video. I mean, you're getting 45-degree angles, and they're climbing rocks. They're rock climbing, and you're going out to the Chicken Point is just stunning.
It is, yeah.
And,
that's definitely our favorite stop.
So, yeah, don't hesitate to do any of the Pink Jeep tours, I think, would probably be really good. What we did, make sure, what was that one called?
I'm glad you mentioned that because I don't remember either.
Oh, man.
Sorry.
We'll have to look it up.
It was the one plus Broken Arrow, but I
Yes.
can't remember the first
Yes,
part.
so just make sure to do Broken Arrow.
Yeah.
I'll say that. So whatever
Let's do
you
that.
do, our suggestion would be Broken Arrow. And both, I think I remember the other tour guide saying this too, but for sure this tour guide we had this time, his very favorite is the Broken Arrow.
Yeah, I think they love that one.
Yeah.
They get to kind of get some screams and not,
Right.
I mean, just people like the thrill of riding on
Right.
the Red Rocks. So Broken Arrow, hands down, the best.
They
tour.
put those Jeeps to work.
They do.
I mean, sincerely. Yeah,
They do.
it is a lot of fun. I highly suggest doing a Pink Jeep tour.
Anyway, so that was fun. We knew we certainly wanted to do that. Glad
Yes.
we did. Kids loved it. And I made reservations a couple weeks in advance for dinner. So we were supposed to be getting back from the Pink Jeep tour around 6. So I made dinner reservations almost directly across from the street from where you meet the Pink Jeeps. And it's called, let's see.
The Vault.
The Vault Uptown.
The old bank. Not even an old bank. It was the Bank of America.
Oh,
Yeah.
I did not know that.
They still had the vault there.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's called the Vault Uptown. We sat on the patio. If you can choose, sit on the patio. The view, we were there for sunset. Just
Mm-hmm.
happened to be there for sunset. It was great. The food was good.
The food was very good.
And the view was even better.
Yeah.
So
That was the second splurge meal. Those between El Tovar and this meal, those are two splurgy meals.
Yeah.
They're very bougie. I think that's the word these kids use nowadays. Bougie.
Bougie.
Bougie. They're bougie. Whatever.
Bougie.
I don't know.
I don't know. Anyway,
But the Vault Restaurant, highly suggested Vault Restaurant in Sedona.
and reservations. It looked busy. So,
Yes. Yes.
and I did that on open table.
You did. Yeah. It was great. All right. Next suggestion. So we were there. We were in Sedona for Memorial Day weekend. And it's the Saturday of Memorial Day. Am I right? Mm-hmm. And Sliding Rock State Park. So we've been wanting to go to Sliding Rock State Park the whole time we've been planning this trip, but we
It's
knew Slide Rock, sorry. Slide Rock State Park right there in Sedona. But we knew it was Memorial Day weekend. We knew it was going to be busy, and we were very correct. Slide Rock State Park on a holiday weekend, maybe any weekend in the summer, was a complete zoo. So here is a huge tip for you if you still want to get in the water in Sedona. We went to Halfway. It's like a picnic area. It's called Halfway.
Yep.
Right? And they have a great swimming hole there. Even on Memorial Day weekend, we were one of maybe 10 people there.
That's it. And we went into Halfway picnic area to just make a U-turn and
Right.
go up. And we're like, oh, there's a parking spot here. And then we kind of hopped out. And we're like, and looks like that's the river down there.
Yep.
And surely there's a trail. So
And there were several.
was. So check that out. We found it by accident.
Now, it's going to be a fee area generally. I think it's $5 a car, but it was a Memorial Day weekend, and I guess it was free because I
That's
went
what
up
they
to the thing to pay, and it said, enjoy your state parks. They're free this week or this weekend. I was like, oh, okay. And I even asked the ranger because he happened to be walking up. I said, hey, today's free, apparently. And he says, well, yeah, apparently, I wish they'd have told us, but yeah, today's free, so you're good. I was like, okay, great.
Yeah.
And now it started to get bit. We got there about 11. It started to get a little bit busier. I mean, as soon as we left, somebody soaked up our parking spot.
Yeah, they were pretty much waiting for us to pull out. The water was still really, really cold.
The water is so cold. Yeah.
So I didn't get in. The kids and Corey got in a little bit.
It was like stinging cold. It was.
So if you go that early in the year, just be prepared. It will be extremely refreshing.
Yes, it will.
But it did not stop people from going to Slide Rock State Park.
No, it didn't. So we passed Slide Rock State Park. I mean, there are people setting up 10 by 10 shades and grill. I mean, it just looked like, they were there all day long. And I'm not sure we would have gotten a spot. And there was a line probably a good quarter of a mile long trying to get in. And there was like probably an hour and a half wait just to park.
Right.
And then
so,
finally they cut that off and
I'd watch reviews. It was like, get there when they open. Well, we didn't. I wasn't that anxious to get there.
Right.
But if that is a must do for you, then be there probably before they open.
Or just don't go on Memorial Day.
Yeah. Or that. I don't know what it's like any other time. Okay. So after we left halfway, we headed back and stopped at Indian Gardens. Mm-hmm. You can grab food there. They have some shopping.
We're coming back down 89 back down towards Sedona.
Back towards Sedona from Oak Creek Canyon area. And anyway, we stopped there, and we'll also tell you there's a little Indian jewelry market, ladies, if you're interested in any jewelry. It's right by the Dairy Queen. There's the random Dairy Queen there. And
that's very random because there's nothing around it.
Yeah, and so there's a Dairy Queen there. We stopped there the first time. Actually, the little jewelry market was there the first time we went to Sedona, so we stopped again. Callie found a cute little pair of earrings.
Right.
Anyway, so it's a great little market if you don't want to go in a store. There's a lot of variety there.
Right. And I don't know how authentic this stuff is, but I mean, it seemed okay quality, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
So I don't know how authentic it is, but I wouldn't hesitate to buy something from there.
Yeah, I did the first time we went. Telling this time. So anyway, I just want to mention that if anyone is interested in doing a little shopping, and then we headed back into town. And then basically, kind of wrapping up the video, one more suggestion in Sedona is Sedona Pizza and Pasta. I would say that one, we would suggest it. It's not going to knock your socks off, but it was good. It didn't have any wait. Memorial Day weekend. It was busy, but it's also a large place. So Sedona Pizza, if you're in the mood for some pizza in Sedona, I think it's good. And it's downtown. So the reason we stopped there, we were already kind of shopping around, just popping in and out of some of the stores.
Right.
And anyway, it's kind of more out of convenience, and Beckett always says pizza when we ask, what do you want to eat? So we stopped there. And then, what was that, lunch?
That was lunch, yeah.
Okay.
And then dinner, we went to, we picked up from Elote.
That's right. So we really wanted to eat there. They have a new location. Yeah. Previously, we went to Elote. They were on the other side of town. You had to get in line.
At 3:30 in the afternoon.
Yeah, hour and a half before they open. So now they have a new location that's kind of behind downtown Sedona, or what do they call it? Uptown Sedona. Right, yeah. Uptown. And you have to get a reservation. I tried to get a reservation a couple weeks before.
Yeah, what happened?
No luck.
Yeah.
So if you want to eat at Elote, that would probably be the one we most highly suggest.
So Elote is the best Mexican food I've ever had in my life. It's not even, I don't even think there's anything close.
Yeah.
But it's also extraordinarily popular. Everyone knows about it.
Yeah, when I was looking at mid-May, I couldn't get reservations, I think, until July. So just heads up.
Heads up on that one.
What we did is, on their website, they say you can call us at 3 for a pickup at 5. So at 3 o'clock, Corey and I were both calling, trying to get through.
We had to call over 200 times.
And it was worth it. Because we did. We got through.
I had 98 calls and you had like 100 something.
That's a lot.
But on the iPhone, it's not a big deal. You just keep hitting the button.
Yeah, it was something.
But
we got through. The guy answered, and he probably was like, "This lady is too excited to be talking to me." So we got it carry out. They said it'd be ready at 5:30.
Yes.
It was a couple blocks away. Really, it was really close. Corey picked it up, and we ate on the back patio of our house, and it was great. It
was good.
Yeah.
Get the pork cheeks. I know that sounds crazy. I'd never had pork cheeks before, and it sounds a little funky. But man, get the pork cheeks. I'm just telling you. And then get the elote. Elote, if you don't know, it's like kind of a street corn dip.
Yeah.
That's what you'd call it. But they do it better than anybody.
The best
in the world.
Yep.
And
because we try it. If we go to a restaurant and they have a street corn dip, we try it. But elote is always our favorite.
We had lamb shanks, those are a lot of food. I don't think we even finished those.
No, we didn't. And there was one more. I don't
Fresh
even remember
guac. We
what
had fresh
I ordered.
guac.
But
Hey, it's all going to be really, really good. So, but I would get the pork cheeks, even if that sounds funky to you, because it did me. Still get it, and you will thank me later. I'll tell you that for sure.
True.
But I think that wraps it up.
Yeah, we headed out the next morning to Phoenix to fly home.
Right.
It was a kind of a long day of travel, but it was fun.
Yep.
And we were tired for about a week after we got home.
Holy cow. Well, I ended up getting a sinus infection afterwards because the desert's really dry.
Yes.
And you guys probably heard that in that first video. I'm finally getting past that. But so the point of this video is to try to help you guys just get a couple of references on what to do, where to go, where to eat in these different areas. So that said, Tallulah's looking at chipmunks. So that said, I will be linking all of this, what we've talked about. That's probably the most important part of this entire video, is to try to help you. I'll be linking all of this in the description box below with the best websites. I will say, I'll finish this off. There are some interesting websites out there that try to trick you into booking national park lodges out in that area.
Okay, yeah.
And they got me. So make sure to use the links that I'm providing, because don't let me make the mistake. I ended up booking. They came back to me and said, "Oh, Bryce Lodge is full. You'll have to go to Ruby's Inn." I was like, I didn't want to go to Ruby's Inn. And they literally booked the room for me anyway. So I had to call, cancel. I think it was like a $10 cancellation fee. So yeah, be careful out there, because there's some scammers taking advantage of the popularity of that area. And make sure you're dealing with Xterra. Make sure, if you're going to do lodges, make doubly sure, I would suggest even calling them.
Right.
Just to be double sure it's actually them. That's what I ended up doing, actually.
But we'll post the links.
Right.
That were legit.
But I just want to make sure that you understand, don't go to other links, because they might get you. They got me, and I'm always looking for that stuff.
Yeah.
I think everyone's trying to scam me. Except for you guys. All right, guys. Well, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I hope it's useful to you. We're not just showing you what we did. We want to try to help you explore that area as well. It is a beautiful part of our country.
It was an incredible trip, and we hope this was helpful. It was kind of fun to relive it, just talking about it again.
Right.
We enjoyed it so much.
All right, so I'll put you on the spot. You got to pick one thing to do from this trip. I already got mine.
Something we booked and planned to do, or
something that we did on this trip, that if we had to do it again, that's the one thing we would do.
I'd go kayaking again.
You go kayaking?
Yeah.
I'd go to Zion.
I'd
go hiking in Zion.
That too, but
yeah.
I don't know. Kayaking was a fun adventure. So.
Yeah, it was. Check that out on the video 1 of this 2-part series. Anything to say?
No. Thanks for watching.
Yeah, thanks for watching. I hope you guys are good. Hope it was useful. See ya.